everyone. A very good evening. You've tuned into the Money Show on ET now. This is our Rise with India primetime hour from 5 to 7. I'm Mubina Kapasi, and here's what we have lined up on this very exciting 1 hour long episode. We are 6 months away from the most wonderful time of the year. I'm not talking about Christmas. I'm talking about the summer vacations, the summer holidays where all of us make that attempt to get out of town at least, or maybe get out of India as well. Well, if you do want to get out of India, you'll obviously have to cough up a little more, and hence now is the best time to start saving and perhaps even investing your holiday corpus in some instruments. What are those instruments? How much money will you need? When should you start looking out for tickets and accommodation is what we will be discussing in the first 45 minutes of the Money Show. So all of you who want to plan your summer vacations in advance, tune in. Keep your questions and queries as well ready. The numbers appearing on the top of your screens, 24990300. And finally, it's the end of the month, which means we may be hit by the whole end of the month cash crunch. So you can get your dose of budget weekend events happening across major cities in India. Arjun Yadav of What's Hot will be joining us on our last segment. Before we do that, first let's talk money. Let's talk the enjoyable stuff with respect to money, and that is summer vacation. Yes, I know you guys want to get your mutual funds checked, you'll want to invest your money, but hey, what are you investing for if not to spend it and enjoy it on the little things in life, including a vacation? Now, I'm sure many of you guys may be thinking, hey, an international vacation is a bit out of reach, it's a bit out of budget for me, but that's what we, the Money Show, talk about, right? Planning in advance, saving in advance, finding investment avenues in advance so that when the time comes, you can break into that piggy bank and actually enjoy your time. To talk about both the aspects, firstly, the summer vacation aspect, how much will you need, how to plan for it, and the second aspect, now that you know how much you need, here's the question of how to save for it and where to invest for it temporarily. Let me bring on board our two guests for today. Joining me right here in the studios is Tarun Birani. He's the founder and CEO of TBNG Capital Advisors. Tarun, thank you so much for joining us. And joining us virtually, thanks to the benefits of technology, is also Sankalp Agarwal of traveltriangle.com. Sankalp, thank you so much for joining us. I wish you as well could have been here in Mumbai, but logistical issues, different cities, but nevertheless, like I said, boons and benefits of technology. So, like I said, Tarun and Sankalp, international travel is something that a lot of viewers say, hey, it's a bit out of my reach, or, I've just started my job, etc. But I suppose that's where planning in advance, investing, etc., takes its place, right? So, I think, Sankalp, I'm going to start off with you first. What is the most popular destination that Indians love visiting during the whole April, May, June period?
Yeah, so I think as you have said, right, so I think international destinations are also becoming very cheap with the low cost carriers coming online, growing much bigger, right? So the top destinations which Indians love visiting during the summer are Thailand, Singapore, Bali. These are the typical Southeast destinations. And if you see from a island destination, so Maldives is picking up very much these days. And people also go to Dubai if they want to explore the heights and the city culture out there. So that's where typically most of the India is going towards.
Tarun, do you have a lot of your clients coming to you and saying that, I know I have my money parked with you, but please do remove some amount of money because I want to take my family out on vacation, maybe as February and March approaches when their kids as well go on vacation. Do you have a lot of client requests like that?
So Sonia, I wish I was talking about the destination more, but you called me to talk about money, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm feeling so excited that I have been called for a show where I have to talk about holidays, right? Planning for that. Yeah. So yes, I think this is very integral part of the financial planning. Holidays are and the happiness, joy. I think all these things come when you travel a lot, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people enjoy traveling a lot. So I think most of the clients we have observed that travel is an integral part, and they want us to help them plan the same. To my mind, whether domestic, international, everything, I think everything requires a lot of planning, and for that rather than looking at it 2-3 months before, I think we try to make it an annual affair. We keep it part of the budget only. Budgeting is very important, cash flow planning is very important, and once done nicely with the overall purpose goal, I think it makes the efforts much less and people make the most of the travel. Yeah.
And you don't even need to cut back too much then, or you don't need to limit what you can explore, how you can spend, etc. Now, Sankalp, usually this entire period between April, May, June, July is when all over the world we have people traveling, right, to different places. Do you ordinarily, Sankalp, see an increase in cost in all the destinations during this period between April and, let's say, July, August, because that's when, you know, Americans and British as well have their holidays?
Yeah, so I think there is an increasing cost definitely because it's a peak season and everyone tries to charge tourists more for sure, right? So hence there will be an increasing cost, but I think if you plan effectively and pre-book up the items, for example, if you plan from January itself and start booking up your flight tickets early in advance, then you can actually save a lot on these costs because still the prices are very low and you can be in the top destinations very easily. Towards the end, then the occupancy of the flights, the occupancy of the hotels rises very high, and hence there is no discounts left for the customers if you plan at the end. So I would suggest people to bring down their cost by planning very early in January, February kind of a time.
I would assume that obviously an international destination would obviously be a bit more expensive compared to a destination in India. So let's start off first, or rather if you could share with us the budget both for a regular Indian destination and again when you go international. I'm sure perhaps places like Southeast Asia would be cheaper than taking a European vacation or an American vacation.
Yeah. So if you see from an Indian destination, right? So people have a lot of options. Like they can travel in one part and stay in second part, right? So travel, they can reduce expenses by traveling through Indian railways, and if you book in advance, then you get the availability as well. If you go to a destination like so in summers, predominantly the Himalayas are the most beautiful areas because snow is melting and the site is very beautiful. So if you visit valleys like Shimla, Manali out there, or you go to Ladakh, or you go to Kashmir, or Sikkim, Gangtok, Darjeeling, it's very beautiful. And typically the hotels would cost, a 2-star hotel would be in the range of 2K, a 3-star would be around 3 to 4K, and a 4-star hotel will vary from 4,000 to 13,000. Now depending upon the type of the traveler, people can fix how they are going to plan up their holiday and how many people. So that's, but typically you can get it done at 10,000 rupees end to end if you look at 3-star standard experience. On the other hand, if you want to travel internationally, I think the cheapest options are available to Thailand, Bali, which are the most prominent aspects. A typical holiday would cost you around 25,000 per person at a bare minimum. But as you travel more distance, the price of the flights goes much higher while hotels may still remain the same. So if you go to a farther place, let us say Cambodia, Vietnam, it will be a costlier affair. If you pick up Maldives, Mauritius, which are again farther, it will be a costlier affair. Now depending upon the type of the stay, as you have mentioned, like Europe, US, people don't visit Europe and US for like a small period of time. They would take 15 days to at least a month of a holiday when they are going out to such far away destinations. So their cost will be in couple of lakhs per person for sure, so that people can stay for a longer time, visit multiple cities and effectively make a very good experience for them.
Right. Now, of course, the money part, when you have to actually cough up the money, right? I think Sankalp has shared with us on an average what the cost will be for both an Indian vacation as well as a vacation abroad. I still have December, January, February, March, maybe at the most pushing it. Of course, Sankalp advises to pay for it in advance. So let's say February is when we have to pay for it. That means I just have the next 3 months. You have your certain fixed salary or a certain income that's coming in on a month-on-month basis. How best would you advise that all our viewers start saving for their summer vacation from now itself?
Right. So Sonia, I would rather first look at it from an overall budget point of view. I think going back to the basic tenets of financial planning, I would first recommend to look at least 30 to 35% of your income should be saved. I think the saving is more important for me. I think once you have taken care of that part of your income, I think then comes the second part of it, the expenses part. In expenses, again, you have household expenses, lifestyle expenses, discretionary, non-discretionary expenses. So my suggestion would be first figure out your overall saving plan. Once that is taken care of, what is the kind of money available with you, right? Kind of money available with you, and accordingly you have to start planning what kind of destination you can plan among your budget overall available. Because I have seen a lot of tendency to try to match up with the peer group, friends and all those things. I think that should be avoided, because it is for your joy and happiness. I don't want somebody to travel abroad and later once he comes back he gets into a EMI burden and all those things. So I think the best thing one should do it, make it an integral part of your overall budget. The lifestyle expenses, your travel expenses, discretionary expenses, plan it in the start of the year. Sit down with your financial planner, or if you're doing it yourself, define very clearly. Let's say in this year I have budgeted 3 lakhs for my expenses. That money, 3 lakh rupees, should start saving. And there are a lot of instruments available where you can park this money. There are options like short-term funds, arbitrage funds. There are some bit of asset allocation products also could be looked at, because this is a continuous requirement which we will be having every year. So my suggestion would be, rather than looking at it from a 3 to 4 months before, I think one should look at it from the start of the year only. And once you do that, you have money available. Lot of peace is there when you are actually taking the expense, doing the expense. Otherwise, what happens? People end up spending more, and then there is a lot of regret, guilt, and everything comes in. And don't do it just for the sake of showing off or just to make your social status. I see a lot of tendency currently where people just do it to make it a point. Make it a point. I traveled this. I think, how does it make a difference? I think do it if you genuinely can afford it. Don't do it for the sake of doing it. My suggestion for it.
Okay. You know, Tarun, another point that you as well mentioned, and that is planning a year in advance. Sure. We are talking about perhaps an annual holiday that one takes with their families. Now, sometimes we get this question, you know, isn't it better to just take 2 small holidays as opposed to just 1 long holiday? I mean, isn't it more money efficient, or is it more financial efficient? I mean, would you agree with that? I know it differs from person to person and from place to place, but would you rather have expenses being scattered, or just a bulk of expense being spent off once a year?
So, Sonia, I feel again it's a very, very personal decision, and a lot of convenience factor comes in, because a lot of kids' holidays, a lot of factors come into play. So I think let it be a more personal decision. From expense point of view, I think if you have budgeted it nicely on an overall basis this year, this is the amount you want to spend for travel. I don't think then you can do a 2, 3, 4, whatever works in that overall budget, you can plan things better.
Okay. So now, Sankalp, I'll ask you this question. You know, when we say Europe, etc., you want to just go there for a month, because if you're going to travel all the way there and you're going to spend so much on your airline ticket, etc., then you might as well do at least a 2-week or a 3-week vacation. But what would you say if you have to go just for a short-term sojourn, just a quick getaway? I mean, do you think that's more efficient, or do you recommend that, you know, just go do that nice long trip, subject to, of course, A, you're getting a leave from your boss, and B, your kids' schedules as well working out?
Sure. So I think Europe is a culture changer and a mind changer, right? So I think it's one of the trips, and one should take a very long Europe trip to actually experience Europe. And it's like breathing a different kind of air when you go to Europe. There are so many movies around the Europe trip that mentions the same fact itself, right? So I think one has to plan a year back and convince their bosses and convince their kids, and plan meticulously about how to make sure that the trip is good, right? Having said that, why people want to go to Europe, or I would go to Europe, is to experience the difference in the culture. So as we are seeing is that more and more people don't want to go to the standard bus tours out there, and people are looking for difference. So how are they planning it, and what are suggestions around the same? So first, you can pick up the cheap flights one, right? So that you can land at certain destination and take it back to India. So Milan and Paris are typically the cheaper ones. So you can land up in Milan, and then you can put up a tour across various countries, Germany, France, Switzerland, then go up to the France finally and the Paris, and then go back to India. So that's the one part of how do you do it. Second part is that now the itinerary piece. So for example, it depends. So Europe is more about culture, you know, more about knowing things. So you can start from, let us say, Milan, then go to Rome, then to Florence. Then you can, after you have done Italy, You can probably go to Austria through Vienna. In between, you can touch Switzerland and spend a good amount of time. DDLJ is a very great movie which has been shot in Switzerland, and everyone knows everything about it, right? Needless to mention. But if you're looking for more offbeat, then you can go to Salzburg from Vienna and then touch Prague from there, come back. All of these cities are like 2 to 3 days. For the major cities, you can keep up to 4 days because you can take short day trips to check out the good stuff in the cities or the nearby cities out there, etc. And then from if you go to Salzburg, Brussels, then you can then go off to then you can go to Berlin, which is like the heart of the Germany and the culture creator out there. And from Berlin, you can go to Paris and come back to India. And sitting in a night in below Eiffel Tower is something one of the most beautiful memory you will have for whole of your life, right? And that's where you want to end your Europe tour too. And in between, you can save money by using a lot of public transport. So transport in Europe is public transport is very good, right? So you can save a lot by not taking cabs, etc., but using a public transport and staying in a mix of Airbnb, hotels and hostels to make sure that your budget fits in right and you can spend a month into the destination. And that will definitely be a great plan to do.
I'll delve a bit more into those tips, that you mentioned. Public transport was one tip you mentioned, and even staying in an Airbnb. And by the way, the places that you mentioned, it reminds me of this joke that, we usually share, that if you ask a foreigner that, oh, where did you go? And he'll say, I went to Brussels, I went to Paris, I went to Switzerland. If you'll ask a true blue Indian, he'll say, I went to the place where Shah Rukh Khan's movie was shot, and then Amir Khan's movie, and so on and so forth. I think, Sankalp, your entire journey sort of reminded me of that joke. Okay, coming to you, Tarun. Now, there is this, like you mentioned, the whole social media pressure, etc., does sort of tempt you as well to splurge a little, go that extra mile, etc. So how would you ensure, how would you draw the line that, okay, you are going beyond your means, or how do you ensure that you don't splurge too much?
So that's what, Mubina, I think I started with that only, that you need to first create a very basic purpose for yourself, right? The goal part. I think in your goal priority list, what are the most important things which you want to work on? So let's say if I talk about myself, the first important thing I want to take care is my children's future. Okay. I want to take care of my financial freedom. Once those are taken care of, travel is very important for me. Holidays are very important for me. Once these definitions, these purposes are clear, I get into the second part, the measurement part. How much I require for that? On a quantifiable basis. So let's say 5 lakh rupees every year on a every year basis. On an inflation linked basis, every year I require this much money. So this kind of money need to be saved in a vehicle which can take care of it. So I think once the purpose part is clear, very clear, and you have made an annual budget for yourself, every 6 monthly you are doing a review of your budget, I think everything's become much more structured, and I think then you will not miss what you are looking at.
Okay, so the budget that you have after saving for the priority things, like for example, your child's future, child's education, your financial future, whatever your top 2-3 priorities are, first ensure that's adequately taken care of, and then spend on something like a holiday or anything that's aspirational, a new car, a new house, a fancier house, if you could call it that, so on and so forth. Okay, you know what? I'm also going to take this opportunity to invite all our viewers, if they have any questions or queries with respect to planning for their holiday, with respect to any trip that they would like to take, even if it's for the upcoming Christmas season, do call in 24990300 or email us on themoneyshow@etnow.tv. Before we do that, however, Sankalp, I have another quick question for you. I remember the amount of fun I had when I went for the Kerala boat races. That was last June, and I think in May, June, July is when a lot of countries around the world had their summer festivals. So list your 3-4 favorite which you recommend our viewers should go for.
So I think apart from summer festivals, I think there are a lot of full moon parties which are happening in Thailand, right? So I think from that perspective, there are so many islands, and Thailand has actually become very cheap in India. So I would suggest that a lot of millennials who are watching up the show, right, to pick up those full moon nights and plan their trips from that perspective and go to Koh Phi Phi or Khao San Road, etc., and enjoy those full moon parties. They are one of a time experience and so much fun. Apart from this, if you talk about festivals, I think Ladakh Music Festival, and there are a lot more stuff which is happening in Ladakh during that period. I would suggest people to try them out as well.
Okay. All right, folks, there you have it. I think it's a 360-degree perspective on both how much money will you need, how to budget for it, and also ensure that you first budget for it and then decide which destinations fit your pocket. Folks, like I said, we'll take a very short break, but when we return, we're going to be kickstarting our Ask the Money Show segment. Sankalp as well as Tarun will be here. Stay tuned.